Hi, your water heater's worst enemy isn't old age. It's calcium buildup, and it's slowly killing your water heater. But here's the thing. If you don't take care of this problem now, it could cause you not only a lot of money in replacing a water heater one day in the future, it will cost you more money in skyrocketing electricity or natural gas costs. So stay tuned. What we're going to talk about is how does that happen, and also what you can do in order to prevent that and save your family what could be thousands of dollars one day in the future. Now, let's talk about that real quick. Water is the most natural solvent in the world. Yes, solvent. It's amazing. We literally, when we come into people's homes, we take clean water, a clean rag, and sometimes we'll just clean their house with them to show them that actually water is the most natural cleaner. Yet we've been conditioned by our society and manufacturers and advertisers that, oh, chemicals are the way to clean everything. But the reality is water's been used for thousands of years to clean things. So whether it's cleaning your body or cleaning your laundry or cleaning your clothes, cleaning your dishes, clean water is actually the key. However, in most of America, what we're wrestling with is water that has calcium and magnesium attached to that water droplet. Now, it's important to understand that. First of all, why is it there? Well, when the water falls from the sky, basically that's soft water. Not hard water, soft water. When that water lands on the ground and it interacts with rock, meaning the ground, what happens is the rock attaches itself, boom, to the water droplet. So you have to remember that water is like, I don't know, it's like a party bus. Everybody wants to get on board. Everything wants to get on board. So that's why it's so important for you to learn some of the basic things that we're going to teach you today. So if it lands in a lake and the bottom of that lake is rock, guess what? The rock attaches to it. In many communities all over the country, the water percolates through the earth, then it sits in an aquifer. Well, what's an aquifer? It's a layer of bedrock that the water is sitting in. And by the way, it's porous because there's all these nooks and crannies between the rocks that the water can sit in. And there's trillions and trillions of clean water underneath the Earth's crust that actually cities tap into. Also, some people get their water from rivers. Well, what's on the bottom of the riverbed? You got it, rock, right? So that's how rock attaches to most everybody's water supply. And in doing so, as that water sits in that aquifer or on that level of rock, the rock attaches itself to it, magnesium attaches itself to it, and then the city takes that water and they add chlorine to it. We can sort of coat the water, the chlorine, all over with this water to keep bacteria from attaching itself to it, and then they send it out to everybody's home. Now, what does that cause? Well, that causes a lot of different issues. First, for the city, the big plumbing pipes that they have slowly get built up with rock around it. Pro tip, little side note, why did we use lead plumbing pipes in America when back during the Roman days, we knew that the aqueducts, which were lined in lead, made the water filled with lead? Well, our experts back in the 50s, 40s, 30s, whenever it was that they built the plumbing pipes, thought that lining the pipes with lead was okay because the rock from the water droplet would coat the lead and not allow the water to leach the lead into our drinking water. Ding, ding, ding. It wasn't until 1984 that the federal government said no more of that. Ding, ding, ding. Fast forward to what happened with Flint, Michigan, and we realized that when the city changes its chlorine component or how it treats the water, remember they have water treatment plants, they don't have water filtration plants. Most of them have water treatment plants. So when Flint, Michigan changed its water source and also the chemistry of that water, guess what? As it ran down the plumbing pipes, it pulled off that calcium and magnesium, and then the lead started touching the water, and guess what? The lead jumped on the party bus. And that's why we had this problem with Flint, Michigan. So my job today is to help explain to you that yes, rock is very common to be on your water droplet as it comes in the home. So that said, we need to measure it. We need to measure it because we need to know how bad is it going to affect your water heater. Because here's what happens. When that water comes into the water heater, it's coming down and it sits inside that water heater. This one is 40 gallons. Sometimes there are 80 gallons. And what happens inside the water heater? Well, this is an electric water heater, so you have an electrical rod that sits inside there that's heating up. Now that's heating the water. You think, okay, well, what does that have to do with it? Well, guess what? As that water sits in there, it's reacting. It's getting hot. And what happens is the rock oxidizes, meaning comes off the water droplet, and as it attaches itself to that electrical coil. So what happens when we coat an electrical coil with rock? You guessed it, it's less efficient, costing you more money in electricity. If conversely this was a natural gas heater, what happens? We have flames on the bottom, we have steel, and then the water is sitting on top of that steel, right? And we're flaming it. Well, what happens to that rock? You got it. It oxidizes off, and it builds up on top of the bottom of the water heater. This is why on the bottom of all water heaters, you'll find a little valve. Yeah, do you ever wonder what that's for? Well, if you read your manual, which I know a lot of us don't read the manual. If you read the manual, it says, actually, that's where you flush the water heater. And you need to do that every 6 months at a minimum in order to maintain the warranty with the manufacturer. Did you do that? Oh, whoops, that's pretty important to do. By the way, if you like this video, if you know anyone else with a water heater, hello, please share the video, press like, subscribe to our channel. We'd be so grateful for that. Again, anyone using a water heater, anyone that likes hot water, you can share this video with. So I hope you do. But as that water heater has that valve on the bottom of that water heater, it's designed for you to flush it out. And of course, we don't read the manual. A plumber installs it. It says you're good to go. Bye. Here's the manual. See you later. And no one ever says, hey, by the way, you need to make sure that you watch that water heater. You might actually want to filter your water. So I have an image here of a water softener so that you can actually see why it's so important to install a water softener before a water heater. Now, think about it for a second. As that water droplet falls into that water heater and we oxidize the rock off of it, what we've found is we've literally cut these water heaters in half so we can see what happens in there. And what happens on the bottom of that water heater on a natural gas or propane type of water heater is it becomes like a brick. And that brick becomes very, very difficult because now the flame is heating the steel, and then it's heating the brick, and then it's heating the water. Now, how is that going to save you money? It's actually going to cost you money, right? Because who wants to heat a brick before it heats water? Well, gas prices always go up as a result of that. So over the years, your natural gas goes up a little, and more and more and more. And before you know it, you don't even pay attention. But the reality is if you compare your gas bill from one year to the another, you're going to go, I don't really know because maybe one year was hotter than another year. Well, no. A lot of times it's your water heater having a lot of rock on the bottom of it. Or if you have an electric water heater, it's coating the electrical coil inside, heating the water. So you need to be able to be aware of that, and then you need to flush that water heater regularly so you can actually get that rock out of there. But I'm going to tell you, that doesn't make a lot of sense because we've been flushing them, and the rock is really hard to flush out. Yes, you connect a garden hose to it, you run it to a drain, does an okay job. You got to remember to do it every 6 months. Or what can you do? You can invest into a water softener. So take a look at this water softener that we have here. So imagine that you're taking a hot shower. Well, the city has added chlorine to the water, and then there's rock attached to the water. By the way, a reputable water treatment company can come out and test your water. They usually measure it in grains per gallon. And I like to think about this analogy. If I had a gallon of water here, and I had tested the water, and I told you it was 10 grains of rock per gallon, I would want you to visualize that in that gallon of water, that actually there's 10 little teeny pebbles on the bottom of that water. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but over time, what happens? First of all, most people are shocked when I tell them this statistic, that a water heater or a family uses about 60 gallons of water per person per day. Wow, really? Yeah, and a lot of that is hot water. You take a shower, you wash dishes, you do laundry, warm water all the time, right? You flush toilets, you wash your hands. I mean, it's shocking, but it's true. The national average is about 50 to 60 gallons of water a day. Back a few years ago, before the toilets were actually changed, when they were 5-gallon flush toilets, now they're 1.6 or whatever the new ratio is, we used to go through almost 100 gallons per person per day. Now think about that for a second. You have a family of 4 using 50 gallons a day. That's 200 gallons of water going through your home every day. Now, if you think about 10 little pebbles on the bottom of that gallon of water running through all the plumbing, well, of course, over time, your plumbing, like the city's water mains, will eventually get calcium buildup around the plumbing, in the plumbing pipe. And what happens for people is it slowly starts to get smaller and smaller. Now, the worst plumbing out there is going to be galvanized plumbing. Galvanized plumbing that from the 50s, 40s, that is like a sponge, and rock definitely jumps off like right away as it's going through that plumbing pipe. So whenever someone has galvanized plumbing, they always are complaining to me, oh my God, my plumbing is so bad. So the water pressure is so bad. Well, that's because the plumbing is clogged up, and a lot of times we've cut those plumbing pipes and there's just a little diameter in there. So that said, what can we do? Well, first of all, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want to get out of the water? Well, first, if you want to protect your water heater, obviously it's that rock. Like, we want to get that out. So what happens is if you use a water softener, not a salt-free conditioner. Let's make sure that's clear. I've visited A.O. Smith, who's a manufacturer of water heaters, and they said there's a slight improvement on a salt-free conditioner. Just slight. The best is, of course, if you remove the rock off the water droplet. So let's make sure we define the differences. A water conditioner does not use salt, so they're called salt-free conditioners. Some people that are not too ethical, they say salt-free water softeners. But water softeners mean that the water is soft, like rain soft, like it's soft like the rain, right? However, when they say that it goes through a salt-free conditioner, they say that the technology keeps the rock attached to the water droplet. It does as it travels through the plumbing. However, when you heat water, guess what happens? Pop! It comes off and it still oxidizes out into the water heater. So that doesn't really work. Also, when it comes out of the faucet, what happens? Pop, it comes off. What happens when you go take a shower? Pop, it comes off, it builds up on your hair follicles, on your skin, causing dry, itchy skin, dry, brittle hair. So removing it, water softening, where you literally need to use what's called ion exchange. That's when we're exchanging this calcium ion with a sodium ion. You can also use potassium chloride. Potassium chloride acts the same way. It actually replaces the calcium with a magnesium ion. So now that said, you could do that. You could use either one, sodium chloride or potassium chloride. Either one will work inside of this system. Now, I like the Eco Water Unit. I think a lot of you have seen that. We do work with Costco, Lowe's, and a lot of other big companies. So when we do business with them, we're out there educating people as to what is the right system for you. What's the technology that you want? And so if you're looking to achieve the benefits like extending the life of your water heater, well, we got to take that rock off. How does that work? As we run that water through this water softener, what happens? The salt gets replaced onto the water droplet, and the calcium pops off and attaches to that resin bed. Then, once it's gone through that, about every 500 to 1,000 gallons of water, this one could be 200 to 1,000 gallons of water. When that rock builds up on that filter material, guess what? It uses salt, sodium chloride, to draw that in, and actually it brings it from the bottom up on this system, and it cleans the filter material. And it puts sodium back on that filter material so that it can start to exchange it. And what does it do with the rock that popped off of it? It flushes it down the drain, and either in Florida, maybe out onto the grass, in Chicagoland or other areas where it's cold outside, we'll put it to the drain. Now, in most homes, that leads to a sump pump. So pro note, one of the advantages of an eco water unit, it has virtually zero chloride discharge because it has alternate salt dosing, which means it knows if this filter material is used up 20% or 100%. So it knows if it's used up 100% of the filter material, or there's 100% rock on that filter material, it needs 10 pounds of salt to clean itself. Conversely, if it says, oh, I'm going to regenerate because it's computerized, it says I only need 2 pounds of salt, it's going to melt and use only 2 pounds of salt. That's what's revolutionary about that product line. That's what makes it worth a little bit more money. That's the benefit, so you understand it, is if it's only using 2 pounds of salt, there's virtually zero sodium left behind to go down to the sump pump. What are sump pumps made out of? You got it, metal. What does salt love? You got it, metal, right? Or iron. So it's like, so realistically, if you want to extend the life of the sump pump, pro note, Eco Water puts virtually zero chloride down the drain, which leads to the sump pump. And if you don't do that, some of the cheaper, older models that are out there, they're always going to use 10 pounds of salt. They don't need it, but they dump it down the drain, and it goes to the sump pump, burning out the sump pump. If we were to do that in Florida, it's putting it out on the grass. Guess what happens? Yeah. Do you think grass likes salt? Do you think the trees and the bushes like salt? No. It actually kills it. Again, one of the advantages of going with an exact salt dosing Eco Water water softener, because it actually has that benefit. That said, again, we're getting back to the water heater. So in order to be able to make sure that that guy's soft or rock free, we need to actually go through a water softener. And the way that works is basically the water comes in the back, down through this filter material. We exchange the rock for a sodium ion. And by the way, it's so little that if I were to test that water after the water softener, there's less salt in a glass of water than there is in a slice of white bread. So it's very minimum. But there is salt attached to that water droplet, but it's minimum. So that said, as that water goes through there and that rock pops off, then it leaves that water softener heading over to this water heater, and it's got no rock. So guess what? Without any rock, there's nothing for it to actually do to the water heater. There's nothing that's going to oxidize off of it. That's how we get a longer life. Guess what? That's why we can move from doing a flush every 6 months to we now do it every year, because there's virtually nothing to wash out other than other oxidized material that came with the water. Because of course you got to remember, cities are running the water sometimes 100 miles, 50 miles, whatever it is, before it gets to your house, 20 miles, 10 miles, whatever it is. It's got to go through all this plumbing pipe that's in the ground that's old. And so that dirty old pipe, I mean, it's going to pick up some of that dirt as it brings it in the house. So we still need to flush that every year. So our team, when we come out once a year, we always ask you, would you like to flush the water heater? And you want to do that because it will help extend the life of the water heater. Remember, water heaters back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they were badass. They were built with thick steel, American-made steel. They were worked forever, even with hard water. But as America wanted to get cheaper products, what do you think happened? Yes, all these factories exported their factories over to China. China, do you think that they want to put quality in things or find ways to cut costs? Well, everyone wants to cut costs. So they made the steel thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And so that means that now as that water, as we deal with the hard water issues, what does that mean for the water heater? It means that it's actually going to fail sooner. So the rock affects these newer water heaters much faster in a worse way than they did in the 70s, 80s, or maybe even the 90s when they were made in America. Now, how do they leak? People always ask me, well, why did my water heater start leaking? Well, think about it for a second. The water sits on the bottom of the water heater. You're heating the steel that then heats the water, right? And then the rock falls off, and before long, you've got this rock, this layer of bedrock on top of there. Now, you're heating rock. What happens with that? Over time, that rock builds up to be like a brick. What's going to happen over time? All of a sudden, you hear it pop. Have you ever noticed that? Some old water heaters, they're going pop, and people go, what is that? Well, it's the rock, and what's happening is it's cracking that rock, or it's popping it, letting air out. Pop, pop. So that means you're loaded with rock down there. What it means is you're spending a huge amount of money on natural gas to heat that. So that popping is actually the fact that you never address the rock in the water. That's why plumbers today will actually tell you that, hey, listen, I replaced your water heater, but the problem still exists. And the customer's like, what do you mean? Well, it broke not because the unit was bad, but because your water's broken. And that's when people go, aha, I have broken water. Yes, broken water means you have rock attached to it. So you have to realize that in today's world, with water heaters being built to hit a lower price point, they've had to skim off or reduce the amount of steel they put into water heaters and find ways to cut costs. So it means that you as a consumer should really consider to remove the rock out of the water with a whole house water softener. Now, I hope this really helps you, because the whole goal of today was to educate you as to how we, Angel Water, we're a licensed plumbing contractor, so we understand the rules and the laws and the guidelines, and we deal with hundreds, if not thousands of people, it's thousands of people for sure, throughout the year, and we come across water heaters on a regular basis and we're replacing them. And I've taken them, we can't just sawzall them open. Actually, we had to use a welder to weld it, open it up, and see for ourselves that actually there's a layer of rock that's on the bottom of that water heater. So what we hope is that you can learn from this and learn, if you want to extend the life of your water heater, if you want to extend the life of your water using appliances like your laundry machine, your dishwasher. Oh my God, the dishwasher. Today they're built so inexpensively that they break all the time from rock in the water. If you're looking to prevent the scale that goes on the shower stall, if you're looking to prevent the scale that builds up on the tile, if you're looking to prevent the scale from building up on the faucets, and you're looking to prevent the scale from building up on your dishes and your silverware, if you're looking to use less cleaning supplies, because we all buy a lot of cleaning supplies, because guess what? You need to use cleaning supplies to actually clean the rock that's attaching itself to all of those appliances, or all of those fixtures, or all your dishes, or even your clothing. I'll leave you with this. The one thing about water softeners is that you won't believe who the largest water manufacturer is in the world. You won't ever guess it, but it's Procter & Gamble. Yes, they sell you chemical softening agents. So every day that you use a full cup of that Tide, you're using that full cup because it's got to first fight the rock in the water, then it can fight the dirt on the clothing. So when we do a whole house system, guess what? We move you from the full cup to using a tablespoon of soap. And we can go to natural soap with no chemicals added. By the way, New York and Europe outlawed many of the manufacturers' laundry detergents. Why? Because they were using such harsh chemicals, it wasn't good for the environment. And in many of those cities and states, state of New York, they were concerned because they're going to reclaim some of that water. The last thing they want is some of these nasty chemicals in there. By the way, have you ever read the side of a bottle of Tide? Can you pronounce all those names? Come on. We've been exposed to so many chemicals. One other thing that you can benefit when you take the rock out of the water and you eliminate Tide, you can actually, we tell customers that, listen, you no longer are going to wear a chemical suit, because guess what? The soap attaches to the laundry, to your clothing, and it's embedded in the fabric. That's why when we do a brand new system, we tell people, hey, whatever you do, the first couple batches of laundry, don't use any soap at all. And then lift it up and see if there's any suds in there. You're going to see that your own clothing has so much soap embedded in the fabric that you don't even need soap for the first few times that you do laundry, because because of that concept of using such a large amount of Tide or Arm & Hammer baking soda, whatever the cleaners that you use are when you're going to clean your laundry. So I hope this has helped you. As you know, my name is Drew. I'm here to serve you, and I'm passionate about help you save money and make your family more healthy. If you ever need us, reach out to us at 847-382-7800, or you can visit us on the web at angelwater.com. Again, we're grateful for your time.